if you let fear dictate your path, you're never going to get anywhere. Because, you know, when you're faced with fear, you have that instinct of fight or flight, right? But for many of us, we just kind of buckle, we freeze, and we don't know what to do, right? And we stay in that mode for way too long, and all this time goes by and then nothing. You're still in that same spot.
Leah Goldstein has accomplished the unimaginable, over and over again. Beyond any odds, Leah became a kickboxing world champion, joined the army, and beat records at ultra-endurance cycling.
I was bullied in school, and so my solution, I just saw Bruce Lee on television, and he was fighting off like 30 people.
At age 9, her mother enrolled her in a Taekwondo class in East Vancouver. She never lost a fight until she retired after winning the world championship at only 17 years of age.
The #1 contender for the world title, Vancouver's own Leah Goldstein.
For me, I believe that I owned the sport and that no one would ever beat me. I had good skill, but I never ever heard, hey, that was good. We can be better. You need to be better.
What Leah actually wanted was to become a spy, so she joined the army and later the police in Israel. She packed her stuff, hopped on a plane, and left behind everything she knew.
I didn't tell my parents. I just said I was going on vacation. I'm going back to see my family. And then I started doing the recruitment, and I call my dad, and I tell him, and he has a flip out. He almost has a heart attack on the phone. It was me against another girl. The only two of us made it from about 300 recruits. And I ended up getting selected for this. I didn't know that this particular course wasn't open to women. So when I went to apply, I was told at the administration that I couldn't get in, right? And I thought that was absolutely absurd. I mean, I was in my early 20s, and this was something that I dreamt about since I was 7 years old. And you're just gonna take it away from me because, you know, I was born with the wrong body parts? Not gonna happen.
Leah Goldstein pushed every limit and broke through every glass ceiling she encountered in her life. When many people would have already quit 3 times, Leah excelled.
I was going up a set of stairs. I was kind of running fast, and then I heard somebody running kind of fast behind me, but it's in a police station, and I knew it was another police officer. And then he runs up to me and he grabs my butt really hard, like super hard, that I almost lose balance, right? And I turn around, and it was one of my colleagues, a guy that works in our department. So without hesitation, I pulled out my Beretta and I pointed it at him. I go, next time you squeeze my ass, I'm gonna squeeze the trigger. I realized that this is the world we live in, and that going into a primarily male profession, I'm gonna be faced with these challenges. And I think any woman that does, they have to be prepared for that, right? Because you will be put through the ringer, I promise you.
She served the Israeli commando and secret police for 9 years. No one ever grabbed her again. During her time at the police force and army, Leah's name turned up on hit lists, and her life was at risk more times than she can count. Leah saw her colleagues chopped up in pieces and became disillusioned by the amount of corruption she saw around her. Always a fierce competitor, she turned back to her love of sports.
I was a national champion in the sport of duathlon, and riding my bike and competing and standing on the podium made me feel so alive that I decided, and I'm like, 29 years old, that I want to do this for a living. Because I hated what I was doing. I despised what I was doing.
She moved back to Canada where it was safe for her and she could compete at a high level.
I was a big fish in a small pond. I come to Canada and I'm just a shrimp in an ocean, right? I was told, well, you're 30 now, you're too old. And they just said that, I was kind of past my prime. And I struggled at it for 8 years. With all the things I've done, cycling beat me up more mentally and physically than anything else, because up until that point, I never lost any races I'd ever done. And now I'm coming in so dead last.
Again, when others might have called it quits, Leah was just getting started.
And when I do my presentations, I talk about this gift that we all have. It's called the gift of work. That although I wasn't genetically built like a cyclist, I wasn't talented, I was older, I didn't have the experience, I had the willingness and the determination to do this sport.
That's when she decided to try something others call insane.
My goal was Race Across America, right, which is the hardest race in the world. It's a 3,000-mile nonstop race from San Diego to, Annapolis, Maryland.
The Race Across America requires qualification in a shorter ultra-endurance race. As Leah prepared, fate struck again.
A lady in a Honda, not a Honda, a Hyundai or whatever, same thing. And she had her head down, and as I was crossing the road on my bike, she hit me from the rear, which ejected me about 25 feet across the road, and I landed like Superman, and I snapped both my arms.
She only had 12 weeks to qualify.
And how I started to train is on a trainer, like the device upstairs, and with 2 ironing boards to rest my arms. And that's how I trained to qualify for the hardest race in the world. And I thought to myself, if I can pull that off with 2 broken arms, being undertrained, I'm not only going to go race Across America, I'm going to win it. And everyone thought I was crazy.
As usual, that kind of criticism just made her more determined.
I start the hardest race in the world.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, Leah Goldstein.
I take the lead within 50 minutes, and I'm on record-breaking pace for 3 days. And then on the 3rd day, I felt this like electric current shoot down my back, right? And everything started to kind of twitch. My body go, what the hell? And I was having a hard time holding my head up, right? And then within 2 hours, I lost all muscle function and my head completely dropped. I could not move my head.
Leah experienced what is known as Schirmer's neck. It's a medical condition where your neck can no longer hold your head.
My crew was saying, we can't finish this race. This is only day 3.5 in a 3,000-mile race. And I said to them, we're going to finish it. I said, I don't care if I have to crawl across the line. And they put K-tape down the sides, 2 here and 1 in the back. So I had a little bit of hair on top. They took tensor bandages and they French braided it into 3 parts of my hair. They pulled my head back, right? And they tied it to the back of my heart rate monitor and my sports bra. So my head was dangling that way.
It was a solution, but it nearly pushed Leah beyond the breaking point.
And you can imagine if I pull your hair as hard as I can for 7 days, the pain. And it was so painful that I was vomiting of pain. When you have a determination and a willingness, you do what it takes. And I end up winning the race. And they said it's life-changing, that it's everyone who've completed Race Across America have become this different person. It's done something to them in a very positive way, right? And that's why I still have this temptation to tackle that race again and set the record.